MacAskill.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Obviously, my colleague and I will be supporting this bill. It doesn't go as far or as fast as perhaps we'd all wish, but it's what's before us, and given the scale and nature of and urgency that we're facing, it deserves our support. But there are two further issues, even though it is a bill that's primarily English and Welsh, and that's the reason that we'll be supporting it. There are two good reasons for that. Firstly, it is a global issue that this bill and indeed other aspects are seeking to address. Climate change and climate challenge and the actions that are damaging our biodiversity everywhere across the planet transcends all national borders and all national boundaries. It may be tragic and indeed sadly ironic that many who have contributed the least are going to suffer the worst, but the fact is all of us will be harmed and all of us require to act. And I think secondly, there's also issues that Scotland can learn from, because although points have been made and a legislative consent motion has been given by the Scottish Government to move on some matters, there are issues where I think the Scottish Government itself could do with picking up, and I'll have to refer to them if I have time. I think, first of all, I want to make clear that we are supporting the amendments, in particular Amendments 26, 27 and 36 and indeed 37, because we have to seek to expose those who are taking actions and funding and fuelling it, especially those that are based here. We are a global village. What we do in this country does affect other places. Our carbon footprint is reducing, even although we have to do much, much more. We can never forget, though, that it was in fact in this country where industrialisation took off that it contributed greatly to the problems we face today, which is why there's a great deal of legitimacy in the calls from the undeveloped or developing world that indeed those of us in this country and indeed other developing nations have to go further and faster rather than simply looking at them. But I listened to the speech from the Honourable Member for Tiverton and Honiton earlier. His amendments I am seeking to support and am in favour of, and he rightly narrated the danger and challenges that are going on in Brazil with the effects of deforestation in the Amazon basin. So we do need to act upon that. The points he was making, I think, were quite correct. This is not simply about rogue ranchers in the Amazon rainforest, or is it simply about failures of action or complicit actions by leaders such as Bolsonaro? It's about, nor indeed even more whimsically, is it perhaps a love by young people, or indeed all people in this country, and indeed the USA in particular, for cheap burgers? It's a structural problem. It's about funding and finance for those who are carrying it out, because it's not being carried out by the indigenous people in the Amazon rainforest. It's not just being carried out by individuals on an isolated basis. It isn't random, isolated or individual in the main. It's planned, coordinated and indeed it's funded. And we in this country are complicit in that, and that is why we need to act. We need to make sure that we do have the legislative powers, not simply to monitor and scrutinise it, but more importantly to take action against it, because only that way will we be able to seek to address the actions that the Honourable Member correctly raised. So this is about us playing our part to support those there. Equally, Scotland has also lessons to learn, because although the rhetoric has been good and I fully support it, although targets have been set and they are to be welcomed, we also actually have to have constructive action. Reference was being made to other areas in the UK beyond England and Wales planting more trees. That is correct. Equally, it cannot simply and should not simply be a cash crop for wealthy landowners, as it was decades ago, a tax opt-out for many people simply seeking to reduce their super tax or higher rates of tax. We have to take action to ensure that we not only have targets, but we have the powers to make them enforceable. So as well as protecting the third and developing world, we also have to take powers here in Scotland to make sure that we play our part.